Još jedno izdanje podcasta Timeout. Naš današnji gost je bivši košarkaš Crvene zvezde, Džordan Lojd. Thank you again for this interview. Thank you so much. Super happy. Yeah, for you guys, it's super interesting this season because you have 3 French teams in the EuroLeague, like Asvel, Paris, and you. So it's super interesting.
Super competitive. And talk about a team we see a lot. Asvel, we've played Asvel so many times over my 2 years being here. It's crazy. So we know all about each other for sure.
Yeah, Jordan, I wanted to talk about this crazy season in the EuroLeague. Actually, no many rounds to go, but it's still open. Everything can happen. I think that until the last round, we won't know who's going to play the playoffs and who's going to play the play-in. So now, what do you think about this crazy season in the EuroLeague?
I feel like every year I'm like putting out a tweet that's like, this is the most competitive EuroLeague season yet. And then like every year it just like, it gets tougher and tougher. So I think it's great for the league. I think even with the play-in, there's a lot of mixed opinions about adding the play-in, but it just brings more excitement um, to the league. So there's going to be more teams fighting for that last couple spots, and I mean every game really does matter. But for sure, I think it's really cool. So you got teams fighting 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th place, whatever the distance is, and then you have teams in like the top 2 through 7 that are still close somehow. So I try not to look at the standings too much, but it's pretty cool to see everybody just battling it out.
But do you remember the first time when you came to Europe and now you can see the difference? I mean, you are different as a player and everything changed, but now when you look back at the first game in the EuroLeague and now,
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago. Man, I feel kind of old answering that one. But back in Valencia, yeah, I was just trying to get my feet wet and just kind of learn how the system goes. And I like to think I'm still the same player, but obviously I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, and I've seen a lot more things and had to adapt to a lot more things. So it's nice to be able to, look back and I believe that year we were fighting for a playoff position in Valencia, and then obviously COVID happened, so there was a lot going on, and then the bubble playing in that situation in Spain. So I've been through a lot of interesting scenarios over the years.
and now when you look back all these years playing the EuroLeague, what was like the most challenging moment?
See, probably that one because probably being in Spain, it was just me by myself. Everything was like happening, and I know I never went home, so I stayed in my apartment. Our team had brought like bikes and weights and stuff, so we had like Zoom workouts, kind of like how we're doing right now. They had Zoom workouts and like, but I was in my apartment for at least 60 days by myself. I brought a mattress and put it on the balcony. I would sleep outside sometimes. I was starting to write and read. I don't like to read or write. I was doing all type of stuff, but just being in that situation and then going to play, it was a pretty crazy situation. So that was probably by far the craziest scenario that I've been through. Probably that situation. And a lot of players, I'm sure, have crazy similar stories during that time.
Yeah, it was particular. It's very weird to talk about this. Even for us was complicated. I can imagine for you guys. I mean, adaptation is a very important word for an athlete. It's not easy when you change country, when you come overseas. It's a very extremely complicated, but you're used to this. It's a part of the game. It's part of the job.
For sure. No, it is. I mean, you always, there's guys that want to go overseas and they have aspirations to play in Europe. And, I always say, like you said, just be ready to adapt. And it's no, nobody's gonna, how should I say it? Like you have to be able to adapt to the coaches, the lifestyle, the culture, whatever country or city you're in, and embrace it. Accept it and try to learn as much as you can in each place that you go to because that's what makes the experience in Europe special. So it's not for everybody, but the guys that can stick around and have done it for a long time, a lot of respect to them, and it's a great job. There's nothing like it, honestly.
Do you think that it's not only and it's not enough to be a good athlete? You need even to be very strong mentally. That it's that the key, maybe, to
For
have.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it all starts with the mental. I mean, obviously, physically, you have to be in shape and be fit and be healthy. That takes a lot, obviously, but the mental aspect, there's so many different games the mind tries to play on you. whether it's a situation or you think you should be having something you're not, or minutes, or not scoring, or not playing well, or just in a slump. So you have to always tell people, like, my motto is like glass half full, like always be optimistic and like on the bright side of any situation that may come. So I've lived by that, probably my entire life, especially my whole pro career. So that helps me get through a lot of stuff. And I try not to complain too much. Like I said, we have a amazing job to be able to do what we love as work, even though there are some tough things that come with it. I started at a small school. I started at a small school in Furman, which is a small Division I school, for like a year, and then I transferred to a Division II school. So, I've always kind of had to work my way up in underdog mentality. So, for me, it was easy to adapt to, whether it was the G League lifestyle, European lifestyle. I always thought it was something that was pretty interesting and pretty fun. So, yeah, you got to have the right mindset for sure if you want to keep doing it.
I think personally that the underdog mentality is super good actually because you're humble and you keep working because you need to know that every time there's someone behind and in front of you. So there's
Yes.
something better, but in case when you join this level, if you're not doing good, there's someone behind you that's gonna take your place. So it's very, very complicated
100%.
for you guys actually. It's super, super complicated.
No, I appreciate. I mean, you're right. There's always the next person that wants what you have, and you have to really think like that. Especially when you make it to the EuroLeague, there's guys that want to get to, where you are, and just because you're in the EuroLeague doesn't mean you're necessarily the best player. It just means like, hey, you've gotten a good opportunity and you've made do on that, or you've had a chance to really showcase your talents, and a team took a chance on you. But just because you get to a certain point in life, you can't be complacent. You can't be like, oh, walk around like you're better than the next person, because we all hoop. We're all hoopers. There's guys in low leagues that are really great guys. Even personal friends of mine I know that can play, that should be at a higher level, that aren't. So yeah, there's a lot. That's kind of how it goes for me.
And now I wanted to ask you this. There are many, many players. They are super, super good. And I was questioning myself, why are those guys are not playing on a higher level? I'm not only talking about EuroLeague. I'm talking about Euro Cup because even the Euro Cup is super, super good. Why they're not doing that? It's maybe a mentality thing. It's maybe because you're not fitting in the coach system. I don't
Yeah,
know. A lot of, yeah, is that?
for sure. That's a good question. There's a lot of things that can happen for that. I mean, there's you can take the same player, put him on one team, and you'll see a certain product, and then you put him on a different team, and he might look completely different. So a lot of it, like you said, is fit, the coaching style, the play style, um, how you adapt to, like I said, the play style of that league or that country. There's so many little things that people might not understand that make a difference. So how you look on one team, whether it be higher or lower, and and then supporting cast. If you have good players around you, it helps you as well. Minimalizes, like, your responsibilities and stuff like that. But you have to try to stand out as much as you can, but also play the game the right way. And I think and be a good person. I think that'll get you pretty far.
Yeah, I heard that many, many times. Coaches say when I'm looking for players, I'm not only looking about the skills, but I want to know what kind of person he is, if he's playing, I don't know, video games all the day during his free time or what he's doing. So I understood that it's very important for the coach, the wider picture, let's say like this. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
No, for sure, especially in Europe. I try to, like, sometimes I explain people, like, European basketball is kind of similar to how it was in college. You're under like a microscope, and what you do off the court, what you do on the court, your mentality, things like that. So you're definitely under a microscope. You're being evaluated not only on basketball, but how you are as a teammate. How do you communicate with your guys and stuff like that? How are you in the locker room? And I try to pride myself on being somebody that can be, fit anywhere, anytime, any place, and just be a good teammate first, even if things aren't necessarily going your way.
It's interesting this thing that you said that it's similar to college basketball, but when we're talking about passion, there's a big difference between the NBA and EuroLeague.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this because I've never played in the NBA playoffs. But the NBA playoffs is very different than the NBA regular season, as you probably know, as most people know. But yeah, the passion, it's like the EuroLeague is basically like a long tournament. Every game is like do or die. In the NBA, you have 82 games. You can tell the vibes are a little bit more low key sometimes. The effort is not there. In EuroLeague, there really is no time for that. It's a shorter game as well, and guys are trying to get somewhere and trying to win. And not saying that that's not happening in the NBA, because I really still think guys have effort and guys play hard in the NBA as well. I just think there's so many games and there's so many opportunities for people to see it's not the same as it is in EuroLeague. So possession by possession for sure. The EuroLeague has way more aggressiveness, passion. It's a little bit more physical, but once it gets to the NBA playoffs, I've seen that up close and personal, and it's extremely physical. It's the best basketball you'll see, at least from when I was in Toronto. So, yeah, I think that's kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah, I heard that many times from your colleagues that the playoffs are completely different. Of course, for you guys, the sensation is different because you're, as a player, sees this in a different way. But I think like the cultural thing is different. I have the impression that in the States is more like a show, like a business thing, and here is more like a cultural thing.
I can see that too, because in Europe, I hear, well, from what my teammates that I play with have told me, you grow up being a Partizan fan or a Red Star fan or Fener fan. Like, it's like in your blood. It's like you care about the team, not necessarily the players that are on it. No matter who goes on that team, you're gonna love that team. In the NBA, it's like, it's really player focused. It's, there's a lot of superstars, and there's of course a lot of like diehard fans as well, but it's not the same as it is here in Europe, for your country and for your city and things like that. So the NBA definitely is a little bit more of a show. They have certain rules that are put in there. So offense is the main, theme of, and that's what people want to see. Your everyday person. If you're not a really big basketball person and you go to an NBA game, you're gonna have fun. But if you're a basketball head and you know the game and you're watching it now, you might be like, okay, the defense could be better, or you want to see the game a certain way. So, it definitely is a business first, though.
Since we are mentioning Zvezda and Partizan, you know very good those two teams. And every time we meet, we talk about this. But I need to ask you from time to time a question, because I mean, your situation was a little bit different because when you used to play in Zvezda, Partizan was not playing the EuroLeague. And that's a shame. That's a
It was very
shame.
different,
Yeah, it was
very, very
different.
different. It's cool to see every home game that they have in Stark Arena is like sold out. So cool to see. Especially when I was there, we didn't get fans until the end of the year, with the COVID regulations and all that. So, but just experiencing that at the end of the year for the ABA League playoffs and the finals versus Medusa, like, I can only imagine, Pioneer, like, that was amazing. So, but it's cool to see like the derbies, especially with all the fans, and um, it's you have to, like, I tell my people back home, like, you just have to experience it. It's hard to kind of explain, but once you're in the arena and once you're watching the game, you're like, man, I've never seen basketball like this before.
It's another sensation. It's another thing. But when you are playing against your ex team, we're talking about Zvezda now. How do you feel?
When I play against them, I always want to beat them, and it's not because it's like with any ex team, you just want to, you know, not that they did anything wrong to me. They were great to me. The fans were amazing to me. But you just want to, you just want to keep proving yourself. And but before the game, after the game, it's all love. Like, I love joking with all the guys, locker room and stuff like that. But once I step on the floor, between the lines, I want to beat them. But you always have that, like, how to say, like, maybe a sentimental value. It's like, oh, you have love for this club, you have love for these people here because they were so great to you, and you want to see them do well on the outside looking in. But when I play them, it's like, I want to win, because for my team, and we have a goal as well. So yeah, I love you from afar, but once we in between the lines, it's all out the window.
I'm trying to imagine right now in my head playoffs, EuroLeague playoffs, Monaco and Crvena Zvezda.
You know what? It's possible. Again, I told you, I try not to look at the standings too much, but it's always in your face. Every time you get on social media, projections and people sending me stuff, and yes, somebody people have sent me like the possibility of us playing as Zvezda. So like that would be amazing. I mean, as just a basketball player in general, you know, their home court advantage is amazing. But as an opponent, you love playing in that atmosphere. Like for me, everybody's against you. Everybody wants to see you fail. Um, it's just a great feeling to go in there and try to get a win. I mean, that's like the pinnacle of basketball. So we have to focus on just making the playoffs first, and then
Yeah,
not worrying
yeah.
about not worrying about who we gonna play. Because if we're not locked in. We're not gonna be playing anybody. So we just gotta have the right mindset. And then, but to your point, it would be a cool matchup, obviously for me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But definitely need to be concentrated this season because everything can happen. I mean, for us, for the audience, it's super interesting. For you guys, I presume less. It's not that that interesting and that funny on the court.
Nah, no, it's interesting because you're just like every week it's gonna change. You just really never know until the very end who you're gonna play. And that's why you just kind of have to focus on yourself. Just focus on your team. Um, just focus on hitting that right stride at the right moment because that's the team that usually wins the EuroLeague. Hottest at the end is what you want to be. So
Yeah, I mean, you have a good team, you have a great coach, and let's talk about Monaco right now because your season was a little bit weird. You started with another team, and very with Maccabi was Maccabi Tel Aviv, and in 1 month, I thought 1 month later you
got
came
there,
back.
got there in the end of August and left in October, early October, around the 10th or something like this. Yeah.
So we're coming back to the adaptation moment. But for you, it was not difficult, I presume, to be back in Monaco because you already know the people. But anyway, you had one plan. You prepared yourself for one experience. You came back to Monaco. Was Sasha Bradovic at first, and after that, Vasilis Panoulis. We always said it's very difficult for a player to change environment, but even change coach. It's pretty challenging.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I guess when you list it all like that, it seems like a lot, and it was at the time, but honestly, it wasn't something that really I felt like I couldn't handle. I felt like the decision to leave Maccabi was very, very hard and very tough because I had already grown such a connection with the people. It started in the summer once I signed, and the fans and the club, and just making you see a goal that you want to try to live out, and you want to help the team, and there's things you want to do to help the club, and it just doesn't work out that way the way you wanted it to. So that was really, really difficult. um and it's something that I didn't take lightly at all. I was ready for all the backlash and all the whatever came with that decision. But I had to do what's best for me and my family, and I don't live with any regrets. But all I do know is those people over there are really, really amazing, and my teammates that I was there for a short time, my coaching staff, the front office, they're all amazing people. So yeah, it was tough being that, with having that feeling, and also having empathy, and with the situation and everything going on. So that was really, really difficult. But coming back to Monaco, I guess helped with that because I was able to go to a similar situation that I was used to. But people didn't, you have to remember I'm coming back to a team now that they're not expecting you as well. So you got to try to, even though you've played there, you have to fit back in, and there's new expectations for new guys. There's other things going on. And, all those guys were obviously, a lot of my brothers are here. So they were very welcoming and very happy to see me back. And that made it easier for me, moving forward. And then the coaching change was a whole different situation. Obviously, me and Sasha go way back. So another change, but at the same time, I guess me being 31 now, I'm just like, all these changes, it didn't feel too drastic, obviously. But you got to keep pushing forward. You just like any player would do. The goal is to keep going out there and produce and win and do what's best for your club. And excuse me, that's what I tried to do. So yeah, crazy, crazy start off to the year.
Your opinion as a player, who do you potentially see this year at the Final Four?
Ooh. Well, obviously, I'm gonna put ourselves in it because I truly do feel that way. I think Monaco, obviously Olympiacos. Man, I'm gonna go Finner Pana.
Hmm.
Now, what's crazy is I would usually say even though Madrid is like fighting for their lives, like right now, I never count them out. They're always a team that's like dangerous. If they make play-in playoffs, they're always a threat. But if I had to pick today, right now, it would be us, Finner, Pana, and Olympiacos. Those are probably the four teams I would go with.
Džordan, thank you so much for this conversation and good luck till the end of the season.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
To je sve za ovo izdanje podcasta. Vidimo se sljedećeg četvrtka.